Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Sens Nation podcast. Take two. It is Steve Warren along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. Thank you for being with us today, and let's dive right in. Shane Pinto is off to Team USA orientation camp. I've got a fancy graphic here for our YouTube listeners, viewers. There it is. That's the American Olympic Orientation Camp. Fancy schmancy. So any surprise to see Pinto there?
Not really. I mean, we all know that he was quite possibly their best player at the World Championships where they won gold medal. And he's a player that can play up and down the lineup, can play on the wing, can play center ice, kills penalties, decent face-off guy, second PP unit. Not sure that that's where he would fit in if he even makes this team, but he certainly deserves to be at the camp. I doubt he'll make it, but he certainly deserves to be there.
You've got friends, people you've worked with at Hockey Canada. It's meaningful, right? That you go to, for example, the World Hockey Championships, or you like Shane Pinto did back in the springtime after the Sens were eliminated in the first round. Like showing up for your country in the past is definitely going to help you in the future, right?
Oh, for sure. Yes, definitely. It's an attitude thing, right? Like it shows that you're interested in participating and growing the brand, growing the program, contributing to the program, even in the ones that don't mean as much. When it comes right down to it, the World Championships doesn't quite have the same flair as an Olympics, obviously, or even a Four Nations. So it's historically speaking, it's meant a lot, especially on the Canadian side. I'm not sure about the American side because World Championships for the U.S., a lot of years they would just take a whole whack of NCAA players and wouldn't even ask NHLers. Now, was that because they knew they'd say no? I don't know, but it means something to Billy Garrett, obviously.
We all know the World Hockey Championships every year. There are a lot of really talented guys who are either riding injury coming out of the playoffs or just maybe they don't even want to go. Right? It just does not have the cachet for a lot of players. And so the appreciation level for the guys who do show up for the World Hockey Championships, it's not going to get you an automatic bid on the Olympic team. But if things are equal, and you can see on the list, you could see on the list until it went away for a sec there, that there are guys on there that, I don't think anybody's really banging the door down for. If things are equal and you've got a tie at the end, yeah, I think that could be the difference between making the team and not. Are you surprised, though, that this thing, what's the point of this thing? There's no on-ice activity, so really, is it a big deal?
Well, it's a chemistry thing for one, right? It's a systems thing for another, but it's also a chance for coaching staff to talk to players. Like the biggest thing here, you talk about players who played in the past and whether it means something or not. The biggest thing you can take out of that is what was the guy's attitude towards showing up for one of these programs, for one of these tournaments, and understanding that he's not the number one center, he's not even the number two center, bringing in a stud, and will he play third, fourth line minutes? Is that something this guy's got in his arsenal, attitudinally? How will he react to that? So that's going to play into this sort of a setting as well. Yes, they're not going to be on the ice, but you can have all kinds of conversations with all these players one-on-one over the course of 48 hours, basically, I think they're getting together, and you can get a feel, not just from a text message response or an email, but you get a feel from body language and facial expressions when you're having a conversation with someone about, hey, look, if you make this team, it might be as the 13th forward. How do you feel about that? That's going to come into play, right? The mental approach, the psychological approach that some of these players are taking, and whether they can take that approach or not, that's going to be a big part of what goes on at this camp as well.
Yeah, these tournaments are always about role players, stars on their team becoming role players on a team like this. And I guess you can glean a little about what a player is willing to do and all that as you have conversations with them. It's just hard to believe that the rankings, the chart is there, the list of invites, like 44, is there, but how much actual movement will there be? Can your stock rise and fall after 2 days of what's basically listening and basically conversation? I think it can move a little bit, but I don't think there'll be too many things moving a lot until you actually, get them on the ice.
I think your stock can rise and fall within a group. right? There's the group that's considered to be the top six. There's probably a group that's considered to be these are probably our bottom six forwards. There's 4 or 5 guys in this group here fighting it out for fourth line or extra forward. Within that sort of group, interpersonal meetings will factor into grading or ranking of players like that. Of course, the biggest thing that affects anybody moving up and down the lineup is how they start the season. How do they play in September, October, November to start off the season? That's how you move up and down. Obviously, on the ice, your performance. But within a group, I think like who's the fifth, sixth, seventh? You can take 8D, right, Steve? So who's 5, 6, 7, 8? There's probably a group of 4 guys they have in mind that they figure are those guys. And then when you sit down and talk with them, maybe you end up shuffling the deck a little after the end of some of your meetings.
Brady Tkachuk's an automatic. He was one of the top 6 on the team, the preliminary roster, and of course he's invited to this as well. He's an automatic. But what of Jake Sanderson? Do you think he squeezes onto this thing?
Oh, I think for sure. He to me,
For
he's
sure.
definitely in. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's at worst. He's number 7. Like I see him as being 4 or 5. I think he's that high up the list that he could even crack a second pair. That's the kind of thing that's going to come down to chemistry and one guy's game complementing another guy's game and not just chemistry, but also how the coach wants the players to play. Like how does he see his pairs working out? What type of player does he want with this type of player? That's where Jake Sanderson's going to fit in. And then what type of game is he going to be asked to play? Like, is he going to go there being, okay, maybe you can bring a little offensive play to power play, or is he going to go there being, you're a puck mover first and foremost, get the puck up the ice because that's what you do best, and then we'll take care of the offense from there. What they ask of him dictates how he's going to play, what type of game he's going to bring, and what type of game he's going to bring dictates who he plays with, and all of that is decided above his head. But he gets to learn those more things you get to learn in a 48-hour gathering at a camp like this.
I think here in Ottawa, Jake Sanderson is no secret to anyone, and I think he's becoming less and less of a secret around the league. I think NHL.com had him ranked, I want to say 12th among defensemen, all defensemen, not just U23, but he was right there with the best U23 guys. But again, when you look at this list and not put your Ottawa glasses on, there are some highly regarded defensemen there. Faber, Hughes, you've also got Jacob Slavin, Seth Jones just won a cup, Adam Fox, like there's Zach Werenski, Charlie McAvoy, Jake Sanderson, he's right there with those guys. But, is he in the mind's eye of the NHL decision makers for Team USA? I don't know. It's going to be close, I think. Love Jake Sanderson. I'd have him on my team if I'm running Team USA, but will they pick him is the question, and that is going to be interesting. But Tkachuk is a slam dunk. Pinto, I think, is still probably a long shot, but you never know. And I think that a lot of decisions will be made, too, based on what we see in the first couple of months of the NHL season. That's always going to factor into.
Exactly. And no Matthew Tkachuk, who's just announced he's having surgery, and he's looking at, I think it was December or January before he's even going to be able to do anything. So there's a hole in their roster up front where somebody can step up. And, yeah, I think you nailed it right. Brady's a lock. Pinto's probably a no. And Sanderson, at worst case, I see him in their top 7, and they're keeping 8. Like, I see Sanderson on the team, too.
Certainly some intriguing decisions for the Ottawa Senators at right defense for the coming season. And we've been saying all summer long that the wild card is the health of Nick Jensen. Jensen was on the Coming in Hot podcast this week and gave an update to things because we know, is that number 6 guy going to be, is it going to be Jordan Spence? Is it going to be Nicholas Matin-Palo? Does Carter Yakimchuk break through in his second year after being drafted by the Senators? A lot will depend on Jensen, though, as we mentioned. And here is the update as he gave to the fellas on Coming in Hot. I guess the thing happened on November 27th of last season. So he's dealing with this thing for a long time. I actually thought it was like after New Year's sometime that it started to happen, but it was bugging him as of the San Jose game on November 27th. He says after the game, he felt fine through the whole game, and then after the game, the hip locked up. And he says it's happened like 2 or 3 times in his career, but for short stints. This one became more problematic, and so it was off and on. He said like he was able to get it to 80% a lot of the time, and took some injections, some medication, and he said he was on the table daily for like an hour 45 getting treatment from the trainers. So he was very appreciative of the trainers for everything they did, but he said, I don't know if I can deal with this for the rest of my career, having to deal with, and by the way, it wasn't like a Swedish massage on the table. It was a painful experience for an hour 45 every day. So that's where Nick Jensen is at, and what happened last season. And he had hip surgery. And so this is where he is right now. But he was non-committal when it came down to timelines. He just didn't want to deal in timelines. Didn't dismiss that he'd be ready for opening night, but didn't confirm that he would either. The fact that he was non-committal makes me think that there's a very good chance he might not be ready for opening night, which opens up all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. The non-committal response to a date, or even a hey, it's 4 to 6 weeks, or it's 6 to 8 weeks, or something like you're not even really getting that. You're getting
Right.
a non-commitment to any kind of a timeline. Tells me, as you just alluded to, I agree completely. I don't think he's ready for training camp. So that makes it all the more important that battle with Matt and Paolo Spence and Yakimchuk and maybe Lassie Thompson and maybe somebody in a trade or somebody steps up. Who knows? It's going to be like we've said this too, right? Like a couple shows ago, we talked about the Senator training camp roster, and really there's no jobs open. No, there's no jobs open, but seating, positioning is open. Who's playing with who, and how far up the lineup or how far down the lineup am I going to make this team? That just comes into it even more. That's going to be the interesting stuff here at training camp. And we're down to close to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. It's close, right?
No, it's usually like, I think the third week. They start reporting in the third week of September. So I think we're now inside a month. And so this is going to be, interesting to see how he reports, whether he's ready to take part or not. Right? He used the phrase one day at a time, which is also the kind of phrase I would hear from someone who's very much unsure if he'll be ready. He's skating twice a week right now, though, so that's something. He waited a lot longer, because normally by July he's into full on-ice sessions, and he really pushed that back, and he's glad he did, because he likes how he's feeling right now. He's able to play with the kids pain-free. We've seen him out there doing things, and again, he's skating twice a week now, so that's all good stuff. He was also asked on the show about his willingness to sign in Ottawa, and every player gives the same answer, including like an Alex DeBrincat a couple of years ago when he was asked about it. Oh, yeah, I could see myself playing in Ottawa. Sure, yeah. Jensen said that same sort of thing. I'm not saying he's going down DeBrincat Road. I'm not saying that at all. But you ask the question, he's always going to keep the door open. Every player will, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's going to tip their hand this early in the process. Let's just remember, there's a big difference between I can see myself playing in Ottawa and I can see myself playing for Ottawa. That's the easy way out. I didn't lie. I said I could see myself playing in Ottawa. I just happened to be wearing a Detroit Red Wing jersey or whatever, right?
Yeah. And I think it's just smart business to be non-committal in that area. Yes, you express interest in doing it, but you don't necessarily say something, outlandish that's going to please the podcast hosts or the Sens fans listening in. I intend on playing the rest of my career with the Ottawa Senators, because if that's sort of out there, that sentiment, then I think you get the Claude Giroux effect. Because I think the Sens were well aware that guy wanted to close it out, walk into the sunset, play as long as he could in his hometown, and I think that kind of cost him at the bargaining table, honestly, because that's a player that is worth, as we know, well over $2 million, even with the bonuses chucked in there. He could have got guaranteed money. Like, even with his bonuses, Claude Giroux is only going to be able to make like max 4.5 if they win the cup and all that and makes all bonuses. He could have gotten more than that guaranteed in another market. So this is why you've got a guy like Nick Jensen who's not showing all his cards.
Yeah, and good on him. Like, it's smart, right?
Yep.
And the other side of it is he's not getting any younger, and he's got this lingering hip thing. He said it's happened to him in the past, and it's something he's dealt with before. And this year it was worse than it's ever been. So who knows how many more years he's even got, right? Like you've seen players retire with bad hips. So he needs to be calm about everything he speaks about now as far as dates and timelines are concerned, whether it's the contract or the return to the lineup or, even how he's feeling from day to day. He needs to be a little more guarded with that type of information, and that's basically what he's done.
So let's work from the possibility that he's not going to be ready for opening night. What
Okay.
is the Ottawa Senators depth chart? You've got Artem Zub as your number one right shot defenseman. Who are the 2 and 3 guys if Jensen is absent?
Well, I've said all along, Spence is in my 6, so he's there, and then I guess the next one is Matt and Paolo, isn't it? I mean, or then we got the Yakimchuk argument. We've talked about this enough that I think the Sens have got themselves in a position where it's okay that they don't have to shoehorn this guy in or force this guy into the lineup. They can send him down to Belleville, and I think that's where Yakimchuk starts. So to me, then it's only a question now without Jensen, who's the extra D that hangs around. If you're going to have 7D, is that a job for Lassie Thompson? I don't know, but I think Matt and Paolo and Spencer in your lineup if you don't have Jensen to go. Don't you see it that way too?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the Yakimchuk effect and how different my answer is when you ask me about where he falls on the depth chart versus where he falls as far as an impact player in the NHL right now goes. Because I think there's a chance that he's easily in their, as far as their right shots go, in their top 3. But when we're talking about what's best for his long-term development, you put him down in the minors. But if we erase that, we say, who cares about long-term development? Let's say there's one game to win it all. Say opening night is the final game the Ottawa Senators will ever play. And they need to win that game. I think Yakimchuk is comfortably inside the top 6 because Jordan Spence and Nick Matt and Paolo, they're both solid NHL players, I think. But I think Yakimchuk has a chance to be a difference maker. And I think he's... Anyway, so, yeah, to answer your question, though, yeah, I mean, I think probably I would go with... I would actually move Matt and Paolo up to the number 2 role because I don't want a rover in Jordan Spence riding shotgun with Thomas Chabot. I think there's a better opportunity for Matt and Paolo to complement Chabot. So I would probably move Matt and Paolo. If Jensen is out of the mix, move Matt and Paolo up to my, which is a weird thing compared to where we were last year, where he wasn't even on the NHL radar. But he's a number 4 guy for me on opening night. See what that looks like alongside Chabot. And then I have Spence, who's more of that Chabot-like character, alongside Tyler Klevin. That's probably how I would lay it out.
Wow. And I see if everyone's healthy, I see Matt and Paolo being 7. I mean, I've got a higher placement of Jordan Spence. I got a higher opinion of he than you do. I can even see, like, okay, could you play Zub with Chabot? Like, who says Zub has to play with Sanderson? Is Sanderson in a place now where he can have a lesser player with him? Not necessarily a Travis Hamonic level player with him, but is he in a place where you could play Spence with him? And you could play Zub to solidify Chabot because you don't have Jensen. There's other things at play here. I think Zub could certainly be moved up or down too.
Yeah, I want to see Jordan Spence play hockey. I've not seen him enough. I just see a smaller player, and I just don't like the idea of Spence and Chabot being out there having basically at that stage a pairing that's virtually void of any physicality whatsoever. That troubles me a little bit. Don't you think? You're chuckling, but don't you think that's true?
Virtually void of any. I don't know that that Spence is that bad. I think he's fine. I think he's a guy ready to break out. If there's a player on this roster, I think that's going to have a breakout year. If it's not Fabian Zetterlund, to me, it's Jordan Spence. I think this guy's ready to take off. He had a career highs last year in almost every category. I see him as being a guy who's going to be a big surprise to a lot of people who aren't quite sure, like the two of us maybe don't really know exactly what he is. I think he's more than we think he is, and I think he's going to be a breakout guy.
No, I'm just saying I think they're void of physicality. I didn't say they're void of talent.
Okay, sorry. I don't. I don't know enough. I haven't seen enough to know whether he's physical enough or not. To be honest with you, Steve, I don't know.
Okay, let's move on then. We have other
Okay.
fish to fry, and there's a question that came across Sen's Reddit that I thought was kind of fun.
Okay.
And the question was, what is the one transaction in the past decade that Sens Nation would most like to hit the undo button on? By the way, as someone who's online quite a bit, doing a lot of writing, I do love that undo button. It's fantastic. Anyway, not that it's new. I get that. But hey, we're using the undo button to reverse one Sens transaction from the past decade. And when you say transaction, that could be a signing, a trade, a draft, everything. Could be anything. So for you, Greg,
Okay.
I can't remember if I actually sent this in the email about
No.
topics.
You sent it to me about 25 minutes ago. So
Well, that's better than nothing. I thought there was a chance I didn't give you any notice at all to think about it. What would it be for you? I'll give you some options.
no, I'll tell you the first one that hops into my mind, and you tell me if that's even one of the options. The first thing that jumps into my mind is 2021 NHL Draft 10th overall pick. I'd like to see them have that, get a redo on that one. Is that on the list?
It's the one I listed first.
Oh, okay. Jeez, okay then. There you go.
But your Logan Brown is right there, drafting Logan Brown. We've also got the Mark Stone trade. Mika Zibanejad for Derek Brassard slides into that mix as well. I mean, Brassard had a decent 2017 playoffs, but I think you'd probably toss that back for Zibanejad being part of that series.
Yeah.
Or at least the player he'd become in the coming years, even if I forget exactly how he was that first season with the Rangers, whether he's really great right out of the gate, but he became great. Either the DeBrincat or Chychrun acquisitions, was it really time for those types of acquisitions? The Matt Duchene trade, whether it's the acquisition or the outgoing trade, those could be in there as well because they didn't get jack for him. They have nothing to show for it. Although Lassie Thompson's back in the organization, but that was pretty much it.
But yeah, I get you. I thought of that. I thought of the Stone trade right away. Like Stone was gonna go, had to go. You had to make a trade. I just thought, yeah, if you could redo that and talk to some other teams and maybe get a better return, that would have been nice. Like I understand Brandstrom was highly rated and the greatest trade in the history of Pierre Dorion, but they also were willing to give up Nick Suzuki to get Max Pacioretty. So Vegas was in a position of getting rid of players or trading away younger stars to get these established veterans. I just think maybe you could have got more for Mark Stone. I like that one too.
Yeah, Stone is definitely
What was your number one?
going to be a popular one as well. I think the Stone thing, without knowing 100% whose idea it was it the Sens just not wanting to get it done at some point, or did Stone want out? There's been dialogue on it back and forth, an opinion. I think bottom line is that the Eugene Melnyk era and all the attitudes and how they were handling things, I think that's the biggest thing, that even if Mark Stone made the decision that he wanted to go somewhere else, it's because of what the Sens were doing leading up to that. So that would be the one, because you didn't make a good deal. You didn't get value for value. You let the crown jewel of your part of the deal walk away into free agency. You didn't even qualify Eric Brandstrom, and I don't blame them. It wasn't Steve Stais' deal, so they move on from it. But it's also the effect that Mark Stone could have had on this organization for the last 5 or 6 years. That mentorship that he could have delivered to the youth would have been just amazing. I still recall, and I've spoken about it before, Keith Tkachuk, when Brady was living with Mark Stone, and he said, Keith was saying, you got to re-sign that guy. And he was telling that to the media, and it just never happened. And even Eugene Melnyk was caught by the CBC getting into his SUV downtown somewhere about the Mark Stone trade, and Melnyk basically said it's something we've been planning for some time, all part of the game plan, all part of the rebuild effect. So to me, I think it was more on the Sens than with Mark Stone wanting this to happen. So that would be my number one, I guess, when you get down to it. So there's your list. Any others on there that grab you? Zibanejad for Brassard, The DeBrincat and Chychrun deals, just deals that were really looked like someone who was making fantasy hockey trades. That's a star player. That's a star player. As opposed to how will he fit with this team? What is his contractual situation? Does he really want to re-sign with the Ottawa Senators? And it just, I don't know, it was a bad fit and poorly thought out. And it was at a time when, of course, the club was for sale too, right? The discussion about, people coming in, kicking the tires, hello, Ryan Reynolds. That may have been a part of Pierre Dorion at the time that was going, yay, look at the stuff I can pull off here, and almost showcasing himself.
It was a lack of due diligence. Like Alex DeBrincat, I gotta believe that it was pretty obvious. Should have been pretty obvious that Alex DeBrincat didn't really want to be here or want to stay here. Everything he said about his decision to then go to Detroit was a factor before he came to Ottawa, right? Like where he wanted to live, family, all that sort of stuff. That was part of his life when he was in Chicago before he came here. So that stuff just, when he was here, yep, now I can go. Now I can go be with family, live in Detroit, whatever. I got to believe that was there and lingering and should have been discovered. It was discoverable before they went and got him. And and the Chychrun trade was just, it just didn't make sense. It was almost as if, you know what, it's been talked about for so long that we're interested in this guy, we're going to get this guy, and now I can finally get him. Okay, let's get him. And I just think there was no thought about the roster and the lineup and who's playing with who and what way he shoots, for crying out loud, didn't even seem to factor into the decision.
Here in Canada, we don't just make lights. We craft possibility, connection, and celebration, built right here by people who care about what they're creating. At Celebrite, we're made of all the colors of the RGB rainbow, each person bringing their own brilliance. Because when we come together, we make something brighter. Celebrite.ca, proudly made in Canada.
The Ford It's a Big Deal event is on. Right now at Jim K. Ford, lease a 2025 Escape Active all-wheel drive from $198 bi-weekly at 1.99% APR for 36 months with $2,755 down. That's like $99 weekly. Plus a $750 bonus for eligible Ford owners. Like we said, it's a big deal and it's on now, but not for long. Visit Jim K. Ford today for details or online at jimkford.com.
At Jim K. Ford Lincoln, we say yes!
Right, we like to close out the show once in a while with some general NHL notes, and Sergei Fedorov's name in the news, in that the Detroit Red Wings have finally gotten around to a jersey retirement night. Later this season, the upcoming season, his number 91 will be retired. And aren't you just blown away that hasn't happened by now?
Well, there's bad blood there. It has been for a long time. I honestly don't remember the specifics, but there was bad blood back in the day, and he was sort of not really welcomed or not looked upon favorably by Detroit, by ownership, by management. There was something going on there for a long time. So good on them. They've gotten over it, crossed that bridge, and they're finally going to honor him. It's good. It's very good.
The longtime general manager is also he's not a longtime general manager just yet, but he's getting there. Steve Yzerman is a longtime teammate of Sergei Fedorov. You'd think he'd have had something to say about getting Fedorov in there, and just a thought maybe on Fedorov's ability, like just so much fun to watch, rolling around there with those sort of white skates he had going. Not all white. They weren't California Golden Seals or anything, but that was kind of what he was known for. And just, has there ever been a more beautiful skater than Fedorov in the league?
Oh, what a hockey player. And watching the people talk about World Juniors, you want to see one of the greatest lines of all time was Fedorov, McGillney, and Bure. Holy smokes, what a World Junior those three had playing together. And the other thing that maybe some people don't know or have forgotten is that Scotty Bowman used Sergei Fedorov as a defenseman and played a lot on defense and was stellar as a defenseman, too. This guy could do it all. Hart Trophy winner, too. Like, hell of a hockey player, size and strength and finesse, and wow, yeah, in his day he was like a top 5 player in the world in his day.
We're trying to get Jamie Baker, the former Ottawa Senator, on the show as a guest soon, and And in the context of that, I went back to, and it's the 30th anniversary this past spring of the San Jose Sharks' incredible upset of the Detroit Red Wings. So I was watching that old Red Wings team and how talented it was. And that was an amazing upset. That's one of the great upsets in NHL playoff history, wasn't it? Like a Game 7 loss by the Detroit Red Wings, who were as good a pick as anyone to win the Stanley Cup, somehow losing to the lowly San Jose Sharks on Jamie Baker's third period tiebreaker, and just crazy finish. That was a wild game.
It's like your old-fashioned 1 versus 16 days in the playoffs. Like San Jose was not good. And you know who was coaching the Sharks, don't you, Steve?
Kevin Constantine.
There you go. That was a bit of a. The weird thing was that they were a young team, and he seemed to be an up-and-comer, and then he turned into an old-school guy, a bit of a jerk, and never really had the same sort of success after that. A cup of coffee in New Jersey, it never really went anywhere. Apparently he was a jerk, but in San Jose they loved him, and it was just one of those, everything came together at once, the right guy running the ship, the right players playing in the right roles, and I'm sure Bakes would tell us all about it if we had a chance to talk to him.
Yep. Artur Zerbe was their goalie, and they still had 2/3 of the excuse me. They had 2/3 of the KLM line in Larionov and Makarov on that team as well, and they were at the end, but man, they still controlled games, and so they still had some good assets on that San Jose team, including Baker. Bob Airey was their captain that year, and it's fun to go back and watch some of that old 90s hockey. The struggle is, though, that it's really difficult, even for guys of our vintage, to go back and watch non-HD hockey. Yeesh.
It's not only that, Steve. It's like you're watching it. You don't have the score up in the corner in the clock. So even if you want to fast forward it a bit, you could pull up the game sheet somewhere and you know what time the goals were scored, and you want to fast forward and get to the goals. You can't do that either because the time's not on the screen. The score's not on the screen. It's irritating.
Yeah. So when you go back, and I know you like to watch old, rewinds of old NHL classics and things like that. Like this, let's say it's the 1980s. Like, what's the favorite thing because I have a thought on it, and I'll get you to, chime in on it. Like, what's your favorite thing about when you watch old 1980s games?
My favorite thing. Well,
I can give you mine.
Can I say goal scoring? It was lots of goals all the time. It was pretty cool to watch. It was interesting. Now this isn't necessarily a favorite thing as in I like it, but the other thing is it's just kind of cool to watch an old 80s game and see how often somebody slashes, hook, hold, clutch, grab, and no call. Just keep playing. Just keep going. The other thing I like about watching older games is no board advertising. There's no on-ice advertising. They're just playing the game on a white sheet of ice with white boards. I don't know. What's on your list?
Yeah, that was one of them. I also liked, when you watch games from the Montreal Forum, that the lights were dimmed in the audience. So it was always a case of, the light was all on the ice, and that just kept your focus on things. There are fewer distractions. I did miss the score and the timer like you did. So that was the one that I had. But the goaltending was bad. Like, it was just forgive me. The goaltending was really poor. Just and imagine like taking someone who's used to the hockey of the early 80s, for example, and then slap today's goaltending the very next night in there. It would just be like, okay, that they got to make some changes. That guy's got illegal equipment. That's ridiculous. Because I don't know. I wonder what the shooting percentage was back then compared to what it is right now.
We could probably look that up. Is that our internet homework for this week's show, Steve?
Yes, it is, and I'm betting that the shooting percentage, with the amount of room guys had to operate, generally speaking, combined with the amount of net they had to shoot at, and the technique. Oh my God! You see some of the reactions of here's Gretzky coming in for a shot on net, and then you just sort of see the guy in a standing position kind of kick his skate out. Like, you had no chance of stopping that, sir. That was when we used to yell at the goalie for not standing up. Anyway, now we get mad if they don't butterfly every time.
With their wooden sticks. And the number of times that guys, you still had the clapper off the wing goal in those days. Mike Gartner, Rick Vive, or Guy Lafleur streaming down the right wing with the big clapper. And there's a reason they did it, because every once in a while they scored with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, they don't even bother with it today. Easy stuff. If
Yeah.
the goalie can see it, he'll stop it every single time. To close it out today, though, lest we start sounding like the old grumpy old men that we are, let's get back to today's hockey. Milan Lucic is back in the NHL. I didn't see that coming. I honestly did not. Not officially. He's just got a professional tryout, the old PTO with the St. Louis Blues for this fall. I'd be surprised if he makes it, but I'm even more surprised that he's getting an opportunity at this stage. What say you?
Yeah, exactly the same as you. I was surprised there was even an opportunity there. I wasn't even aware that this was something he was interested in, or that he was thinking about it, or his name wasn't floating around as one of those. There's usually a list every year of 5 or 6 guys who are going to be looking for a place to maybe latch on, or as a PTO. And that one surprised me. I was like, whoa! I had to read that one twice. Kind of strange, right? He's big and he's slow and he's well past his effectiveness date. Who knows? Maybe he's dropped 20 pounds and got a little leaner and a little quicker, and maybe he's a different player. I just can't see it. Big, slow, and not very skilled anymore. Last time he played.
Yeah. He's the last time I saw him play, my thought was initially not just old, but like get to a yoga class or something. Stretch it out a little bit. Like he looks stiff and slow, and but what's with the throat today? But he is a player that if he's just being brought in for fighting, then it's hard to do much better than that. And there are guys that exist, like the Sens have Zach McEwen. He's not on the lineup because he's got the puck skill, although you watch him at practice, he's actually quite handy with the puck. But there are still the one-dimensional enforcers out there. And if you don't care about anything but fighting, a guy to come in and just still play that role here in 2025, he's in my top 5 of guys that I'd least like to fight in the NHL.
Yeah, powerful man. There. Go Google some Milan Lucic fights. Some impressive stuff.
He was the first name that came to Mark Borowiecki's lips when I asked him one of the guys he'd least like to fight. That would be, and he took on all comers. Like Mark Borowiecki. Sorry, I'm getting off topic again. I always thought of him as kind of a middleweight, and that he was really good for his size. But he took on like everybody,
anybody,
all the top guys. Who's the French Canadian guy that plays for the Flyers now? Delorier or no?
Oh yeah. Did
anyway.
their careers overlap? Wow. Okay.
Shockingly, yeah. And
Okay.
Borowiecki actually, because he's so quick, you kind of square off with the da-da-da-da, and then Borowiecki rushes in sometimes before the other guy's even ready and then gets busy. Like that's his big advantage. And the fact that he hung with Delorier, I can't think of his first name, but he's a monster. Like he is so strong and doesn't lose very often. And Boro got the better of him one night. Anyway, off topic again. What kind of hosting is this? Maybe I'll just keep it rolling. I'll just yammer away. You can shut off the microphone and the camera, and I'll just continue to talk about cats or something. I'll tell you, though, ladies and gentlemen, that our website is sensnationhockey.com. Check out the hockey news as well, thn.com/Ottawa. All kinds of cool articles, though I've been with my summer man cold. I've been things have been a little slow there, but getting back in the saddle there, and that is all I got for today. Greg, any final thoughts before we go?
It's a very difficult Sunday, Steve. Blue Jays, PGA Tour Championship, CPGA with Brooke Henderson tied for the lead on Sunday. It's going to be a late night of watching everything on PVR. I might be finished with everything by about midnight or so.
Yeah, I'll let the LPGA know that you've renamed them the CPGA.
No, the tournament is the CPGA, Steve. It's the Canadian. Sorry, it's not. What is it called?
It was the CP Women's Open. It's got a new name now, but I wasn't gonna try it.
Yeah.
That's okay. No, it's all good.
I combined LPGA with the CP thing. Yeah.
Yes,
Anyway,
I think that's what happened.
it took a while. I found it. It's on like TSN 62 or something. But
Yeah.
I got the PVR set for that one and the Tour Championship, of course. See if Fairway Jesus can come through finally, Fleetwood there and win a tournament. That'd be interesting to see.
Yep,
And
tied
of course,
going
my
into the
Blue
final
Jays.
round. Yep,
Yeah.
tied going into the final round. Fleetwood is, and that Canadian Open is going to be very interesting with Brooke on top. But you've also got, I think, tied for 7th is an amateur, Canadian amateur.
Yeah.
He's 15 years old, Aphrodite Deng. Again,
Nice handle.
like with Victoria Mboko,
Yep.
I didn't even know she was a tennis player until she shows up and wins our Canadian Open. And now we've got an amateur in Aphrodite Deng who has a chance to win our national Open. And it made me feel extremely old. As one of my buddies put it, it's like I feel like I'm turning to sand just reading this stat that she was born in 2010 and she could still win our Canadian Women's Open. 2010. Hi, caramba. Okay, that's enough nattering.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us, ladies and gentlemen, so much. And we'll talk to you on our next episode. Thanks, Greg.
See you, buddy.